I read this book just before we opened called People Over Profit. What we took from it, essentially, or the way I have used it most recently is, when clients complain about something, right? Essentially, people's expectations are very high. So with it comes complaints. And so we're always taking into account when somebody's complaining, like, why are they complaining? What is it that they're complaining about that we could actually change? Or at the end of the day, it's like, what is this person going through? Why are they taking it out on us?
Right.
And how can we empathize with them and find a reasonable solution?
I mean, there's no better way to establish brand equity and trust than owning whether you're responsible or feel you're responsible or not, but just owning the mistake, right?
Yeah.
And talking through it and addressing it, not
Yeah.
hiding from it
Yeah.
but it's true at home too. Like how many times I'm sure there are some incidences where you are responsible, but how many of those fights are it has nothing to do with you?
I'm never wrong.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think we all like default to I'm gonna put up the defenses quickly, and it's like, but it was never about me in the first place. So
Yeah.
let me.
Yeah.
You need to be heard. Yeah.
What'd you guys do this weekend? So
Yeah, I'm just going with the flow.
Yeah, let's
You
go.
lead and I will follow.
you're not even gonna
It's so nice
notice
not to
when
be-
we start or when we.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
It's like we're not
I'm here for
started,
it.
but we might be.
Yeah.
So did you guys do anything fun this weekend?
No, but I've got a couple of weekends with a lot of things going on. We're going to Chicago this upcoming weekend, and then I'm going to New York the first weekend of March.
Nice.
And that one's actually going to be interesting because the last time I was in New York was when the whole state shut down.
Oh, you were there like lockdown?
Yeah, that was fun.
Wow.
We were there for a spa show, and I was there with my manager at the time who was pregnant, and they hadn't canceled anything, and I was like, do you feel comfortable going? And she's like, yeah, I feel comfortable going. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. So we went. Nothing got canceled. We flew in Saturday, sat down for dinner Saturday night. The show starts like Sunday or whatever. Everything is canceled. The whole state is canceled. The whole world is canceled. So I was like, cool. I was like, let's go back to the hotel room. We'll call Delta, figure this out, So we get back to the hotel room. Delta has a 24-hour phone wait. And you can't do anything online to change your flights or whatever. And I was like, you know what? Let's just make the most of it. We're here. The show is canceled. Let's see if we can, figure out some stuff to do, whatever. So we did. We stayed an extra day. We had tickets to a show, Moulin Rouge, which was fabulous. And I, to this day, thank the stars we got to do that.
Oh, you still could go to the show?
Well, we're like, if it doesn't get canceled, I'm like, are you comfortable? She's
Yeah.
like, yeah, we're here. Like, I'm like, okay. So we went, we did it. And then we were able to leave like a day earlier, but it was like so nerve-wracking. And you just didn't know what you couldn't. So this time we're like, we're going to see a show. We're going to do this.
Yeah.
We're actually going to do the spa show. Wait, so it's hopefully it'll be a little bit different.
Yeah.
New York seemed to be like the worst place to be.
Yep.
during
And we were there
lockdown.
in March. So
Yeah.
just before everything started to shut down here, which was around like the 16th, I think. We were there like the 6th. It was very intense. Very intense. So anyway, sorry. That was,
Yeah, that would be tough.
yeah, a little PTSD going into it.
Yeah.
Are you doing, is this like for work?
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's for work. This weekend, I'm going with my husband and a group of friends. I have a really good friend of mine that's on a traveling show called the Golden Girls, and it's a drag show. They started here at the Royal Oak Music Theater, and they're traveling all around the country.
Really?
It's hilarious.
Is it like they're pretending to be the Golden
Yep.
Girls kind of thing?
Yep, and it's like the script that they wrote together, and they do a little bit of improv. They change it up every so often, and my husband hadn't seen it yet, and I've already seen it twice, so I said, we should just go. They're in Chicago, so we're just going to go see that. So it's a great show.
Love that.
So what, you leaving the kids behind or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. Gonna
Wow.
try to take an electric car to Chicago.
Oh,
So
you
that
are?
yeah. So that should be interesting.
What kind do you guys have?
We have a BMW
Is that the
iX,
something?
yeah, or another. So that should be interesting. So we're gonna, there's like an app on there where you can drive from, where you
Charge
are
point
to
to
it.
charge
Yeah,
point.
exactly. But we did that last summer, going on the west side of the state, and not all charge places are the same.
Uh-huh.
So it depends if you have a Tesla, it depends if you have a Rivian.
So they can't.
No,
You can't use a supercharger.
no, the
Tesla one?
technology is very different. So they
Oh, I
haven't,
thought they were
which is
now
very
switching.
frustrating.
It's Tesla and all others.
Pretty much, yeah.
And
But I thought you could use an adapter.
the manufacturers
to
are
happen.
about to, because they're like, Tesla, every other manufacturer built the car first and then the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Tesla built the infrastructure first, then
Then the
the
car.
vehicles.
Mhm.
So their infrastructure is like amazing,
Yeah.
especially in
Yeah.
like California.
Yeah.
But all the other manufacturers like, oh, damn. Like everyone's got, charge anxiety because chargers don't work and whatever.
Mhm.
So now they're all implementing an adapter, universal adapter, using the Tesla supercharger network. So that will be easier. But, even with that, like where the Tesla chargers are, because so many people bought those cars because the infrastructure is good, now you have to wait in line. So, like, that's the biggest problem in LA and all over California is people are waiting like 3 hours to charge their car.
It's kind of
Because
crazy.
you're like sitting, waiting for a charger to be open.
Everybody has a really good charging story. I just
Oh.
had to deal with it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a real thing.
I'm shopping right now I want to switch to electric.
It honestly was the best thing we ever did, but at the same time, it was very nerve wracking. And of course, my husband's like, "This is a great adventure." I'm like, "Is it? We have like 5% left, but okay."
Especially when the weather drops and it's like, oh, I used to get like 200 miles, now I get 80.
So this is our first winter with it, and we've been kind of paying attention to it. It hasn't been as bad,
Yeah.
But again, this weekend will be a true testament to how far we can get
yeah.
and what we can do with it.
Well,
But
that's the only time I feel like it would be an issue is going on some long, like
trip, yeah.
if I have a charger at home, I'm just charging it
drive
every
around
time I go
town.
home
Yeah.
and plug it in. And, if I'm going, I mean, there's never a day where I'm going more than 120 miles. And even that's rare.
Exactly. I
and-
can't tell you how nice it is not to go to the gas station.
Is it? Well,
It's so
yeah.
nice.
it's funny. I was thinking about that the other day on Saturday morning. I was on a radio show and
Radio, terrestrial radio?
not
Like-
extraterrestrial.
Non-podcast?
Old school.
Wow.
Airwaves.
They still have those.
Yeah. 97.1. And I was on my way there and I was picking up a Celsius, energy drink at the gas station. And as I was pulling in, I see a Tesla pulling in and I'm thinking, did this guy forget? Like he can't go to the gas station. But then
He was getting a Celsius.
He was going to get a Celsius or something. And but I was thinking about that.
Thank
I'm
you,
like,
Celsius, for your sponsorship of the Midlife podcast.
Yeah. You're welcome. But yeah, no, I was thinking about part of me hates getting gas if it's freezing and it's windy or something and I need it, but it's like one of the stops, like, oh, I'll get gas. Maybe if I want to grab a snack or something, I can go in and get it. Or when we're driving a long drive on the highway and you stop, and I always get combos, pretzel, pizzeria, kind or whatever
Thank
it
you,
is.
combos, for your sponsor.
Anything Nabisco or and I'm like, I don't would I just never stop at the gas station?
It's
at
not
all?
true. I mean, if you're going on a long trip, you're still going to need to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Let's be real. We're all getting older. So there's that, and there's children, of course. But the charging station we did end up finding finally after we were like 20% battery, and I was like, okay. So we went to one. It said it was a charging station on the app, but I think it was a Tesla one at the time, and we were just like, yeah, this isn't going to work. And we have two different adapters, but it's not the right adapter, right? And then we looked on the app again, and there was a Rivian one not too far. We were kind of like, I don't know if this is going to work. So we tried it. It wasn't going to adapt to it. But then we found one at some point, eventually. I think we were at 5% at this time.
Mm.
And it was, part of a gas station, part of, I think there was a couple different, fast food places or whatever. So it was like this little area and you could pay extra if you just wanted to fill it up all the way to 100% the battery and be done in 5 minutes, or you could do it a little bit slower. You could do 50%. Like you had so many options, and it just depended how much you wanted to pay and how much time you had.
Oh, really? They
So
have
that was that charging point.
capability where you could just charge it super fast, but it's expensive.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, no way. I
They
didn't
have
know that.
Yeah.
level 2, level 3, level 4 chargers.
Yeah.
Really?
So your level 4 will like get you basically a full charge in less than an hour. Level 2 is like if you have the home, you can like adapt it to your,
Yeah.
you don't need to do a level 4 home because if you can leave it all night, it will juice it up. But yeah.
I didn't
Yeah,
know
we
that.
typically only charge when we charge it at night. When we plug it in, and it only charges up to 80%. That's how we have it set, because you really don't always want it to charge to 100%. It's not technically good for the battery. But then you charge it between like 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. You know what I mean? Like the off hours.
Yeah.
So then it's actually less expensive as well.
Ah.
Yeah, that I drove a loaner for a month in EV, and it was like
Say the name. Maybe we'll get it for free.
I drove
right?
a Polestar for a month, and I was like, nope, I'm not doing this. I'm not sold on in Michigan with the colder climate and just the charging infrastructure was rough.
Yes.
I drive someplace like here in Royal Oak, not all the, but there's a couple of parking garages that have them. They don't work. They're slow chargers. It's like, oh, this is super frustrating.
Birmingham was working on that too,
Yeah.
adding them in. It's frustrating, and even like IKEA, who's known for their like several charging stations, some of them don't work, and then like they don't adapt. So the infrastructure really isn't quite there yet, especially in this part of
here
the country,
And I'm now that I'm learning about it, the actual charging stations, because of the way that most of those are manufactured, the manufacturers, they put them in and then they're like kind of wash their hands of it. So the landlord, whoever owns, is responsible for dealing with it. And so typically they don't deal with it. So there's a bunch of new companies now that when you install one of their charging stations, they offer like service and repair because they break all the time.
Yeah.
So I mean it's gonna come a long way, but like BMW is shifting. They're not doing EV, they're going hydrogen now. All these other EV companies like, maybe we're gonna throttle back on this and do hybrids. Like so they're pushing hybrid more because the infrastructure is just not where it needs to be. So it's gonna continue to evolve, I think, a ton.
I have to say it's quite zippy. Like,
it's
I don't know, like
that's one of the reasons why I want it to be.
I know.
honest.
I caught myself. I was like, "Ooh, I'm going 60." I didn't
And
like
you
it was
can't
like
feel
30.
it.
No,
Yeah.
it's
Or hear
crazy.
it.
Yeah.
You're used to like hearing it.
Yeah.
You look down, you're like, oh, I'm going 100 miles an hour,
Yeah.
and it's like I can't feel anything.
But I still felt like it was satisfying. You know what I mean? Like when you're like going fast on the freeway and you've got your gas car and you hear it go. It's just that I don't know, just makes you feel satisfied. And you still feel that way, oddly enough, even though you're like, am I in a spaceship right now? Like it's kind of weird.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, they're definitely fast.
Yeah.
I would do it if the technology continues to evolve.
Yeah, it'll get there for sure.
But right now, I think,
I'll drive enough for it to matter.
Yeah.
Like I'll probably, if I get it, which I think I'm going to, I don't think I'll ever use a charger outside of my house.
as long as you have one car in the family,
That's exactly what we're doing. So right now we're just sharing a car until we can get another car.
Yeah.
Just haven't really quite decided what we wanted and all that stuff. So, but we decided we'd have one this way and one that way, and or one that was a hybrid, and then also whatever. But it was. I mean, we don't regret it at all. So
I think they're cool. And there was a Goofy movie. Can't remember. I think it was Kevin James and.
Oh, I thought you were going down like Disney Goofy. Like
No.
Yeah, I was like,
No,
all right.
that's probably on at my house right now. But no, it was Kevin James and who's the guy from Chicago that was in the breakup? Vince Vaughn. I think it was them. And there was some other story going on. I can't remember what it was, but I think maybe they were like a couple, but not really, or something. But their job was they'd come up with this invention of making an electric car, but it still had the sound and feel of a gas car, like the revving of the engine, like through speakers or whatever. So you still got that. And it was probably like 15 years ago or 12 years ago, the movie, but
Huh.
like somebody needs to actually go do that
Yeah.
because there's so many people that's probably holding them back is
Yeah.
they love that or they
They love that
love their
feeling.
muscle cars
Yeah.
and all that. So, going and buying a Mustang electric, like Mustang is like horsepower,
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
and then it just like it's just not the same. But I'll tell you, getting in a Tesla and going in ludicrous mode or what it plaid, it is insane. I mean, it's like the Top Thrill dragster at
Oh
Cedar
yeah.
Point.
So fast.
It's crazy.
It's so fun.
But well, welcome to another Midlife the podcast, a dad bod production. You're catching us in the middle of electric car talk and
EV.
Chipotle and God knows what else. But I'm super excited today. But there is a little sad news. Our friend Brad is home. He has a sick wife that he's tending to the kids while and his wife while she's sick, and so he's being a good dad, which we love. And but Peter's here and I'm here, Logan Wirt, and we have a special guest today, a little different than what we've seen lately. This person is known as a trailblazer. She is the first woman in history to be on Midlife, the podcast, a dad bod
Wow.
production. So
The first of many.
I feel so
the
honored.
first of many, but the first. We wanted to make sure we,
I gotta set that bar high.
yeah, if we did it, and don't take offense that Brad didn't come.
It's okay.
It's not.
I commend.
It might be partially because of that. He's making a stand
making a
right
point.
now. Yeah, but
It
no.
says dad bod.
But no, we're super excited to have you. Jessica is the owner, proprietor of Rivage Day Spa in Birmingham. She's amazing, and she's a mother, and she's a wife, and a daughter, and sibling, and good friend to all, and runs an amazing business. And we're excited to have you,
I
Jessica.
appreciate you having me, and it's so exciting. I didn't know I was the first woman to be on the show.
Yeah.
That is so fun.
A lot of people just assume it's just because there's 3 dads,
Yeah.
and we call it a dad bod production, that it's just all about dads, but we just happen to be dads. But no, it's all about, we're all dealing with the same stuff.
love
We're
it.
running businesses and trying to balance parenting and working and all the things, and you know it just as much, if not more, than the rest of us.
It's
So,
it's interesting. I actually really appreciate your podcast, and I've watched it a couple of times, and I think that it's so important to hear this side of it, right? And it's always about the moms and mom this and the mom that. But also the other part of it is just that how important it is to have a dad and a partner and somebody there to balance it. And I think it's definitely a generational thing. I think that our generation and hopefully moving forward, this is the, precedent that we, start and we keep, because it's so nice to have that. And I think it's an important conversation to have because life is hard.
tell me about
And
it.
it's even harder when you're doing it alone, whatever it is you're doing, whether you're a parent or not, just it's really hard. And it's nice to be able to lean on each other for things like that.
Yeah. Well, and I think this has become kind of a
Therapy.
Yeah, therapy
Therapy,
for
yeah.
us,
I
maybe
think it's
for
awesome.
listeners. And it's funny, we have people on and it becomes kind of a safe place to open up, even though, there's camera or whatever. It just, something about it, I don't know, maybe it's just Peter just with welcoming us with open arms, and
It's me. It's definitely me. I
gets
think
us to open up.
you said it's doing it alone. Yes, on the spouse side, it's important to talk about, the team approach, but a lot of this, especially in this time in our lives, right? There's so much emphasis in our society on like you meet someone at a networking event, how's it going? How are you doing? I'm good. I'm great. Like it's like you had the expectation that like hold it all together and everything's good and my business is successful and family's good, but like the reality is it's hard as shit.
I'm
And
tired
yeah, I'm tired, I'm
all the time.
fatigued, like no one's doing it alone, right? We're all going through in our own unique ways, different barriers and challenges, but like there's shit. Everyone's got shit.
Of
And
course.
so I think part of that is like, yeah, therapeutic, let's talk about it, but also let me learn from someone. How do you navigate this stuff? And like,
Sure.
what are you doing? We're all, have different businesses and different focus and kids are different ages, but this stuff just changes. It's not there or not there. So I think this is an opportunity to talk about that and
I think a lot of
share.
things, especially at this point in our lives is, you kind of you're into this reflection phase, right? And I
Mm,
think a lot of it is just momentary. Nothing is forever. And sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes it's a bad thing, right? But I think it's really important that we really recognize the fact like it's just right now. And sometimes it's so hard to do that. But it is important,
yeah.
and it's nice when you can lean on your family and friends, but your community too.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of it, and they always say, oh, it takes a village to raise and it takes a whole country.
Hmm.
Let's forget the village thing. It's a lot. It's a
And
lot.
you have to be, vulnerable and open to
Yeah.
sharing with others so that you can get help.
Hmm.
I think that's like it's hard for a lot of people to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna raise my hand and say like, I need a break.
Yeah.
I need a break from the kids. I need a
Yeah.
break. Like I need a personal day, whatever. But that's totally okay.
Yeah.
Um,
My daughter asked me last year, she was 4 at the time and she had turned 5 and things just kind of changed for the better. Just, obviously a little bit older and understanding of things. And she told me, she's like, when I was 4, you took a lot of walks. And I said, it's true, I did. And she goes, why? And I go, it's because mom needed a break, so she didn't break.
yeah,
And she just sat there with it. And she's like, oh, okay, that's fair. Like I can take that answer.
yeah.
And it's like, it's true. Like you have to recognize when it's just too much.
Hmm.
I feel like we are so easy to say yes, and then you're like, oh God, I have anxiety about this. I do not want
Hmm.
to, do this. And, it's just, you got to set those boundaries. You got to be okay with it and just ask for help.
Yeah.
Well, what's
So
cool?
go
Well,
ahead.
sorry, but what I was going to say is what's cool is you're saying you needed a break so you don't break, and your business or a lot of your business
Hmm.
is giving people
Yeah.
those
That moment.
breaks,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but you're working at the same time. Like you're like it's almost like people who work at a hotel,
Yeah.
like getting to watch all these people on their breaks
Hmm.
and relaxing and trying to give that to them, but it's not relaxing necessarily for you.
It's
And
true.
it's like you get to be at a spa
All
every day,
day.
all
Yeah.
day. Like
People think it's
why
like
aren't you
rainbows
so
and sunshine.
peaceful? Like,
Which is interesting. It's interesting that you say that, but for myself personally, I really work on the joy for me is the act of service, right? I don't know if you guys ever watched The Bear, that whole
Oh yeah.
oh
series,
yeah.
but if you saw the second season, there was the Forks episode,
Hmm.
and that's kind of where you really understand the acts of service and
Mm,
why you do something. And, as irritating as things can get or people can be on both sides, whether it's the client or the employee or whatever it is, it's like, you kind of have to go back to that, finding that joy,
mm.
what gives you that spark. And there's the acts of love, there's, all the different love
Love
languages,
languages.
but I think that that's truly what is why I do it. But I think that in general, I think our staff of over 50 at this point, really, really, that's kind of what we come back to. Like we love making people feel good. And for that moment, they have a break with us
Hmm.
where they get to just literally everything that's going on in your life, you just give it to that person when you walk into that door and just say, hey, can you hold on to this for like an hour, so that they don't feel that weight on their shoulders. And then they come do whatever they need to do. They take it back with them and that's it,
Yeah.
but it gives them that moment.
That's
So,
cool.
and it's kind of nice, actually. We'll be in business this upcoming year for 8 years, which is crazy to me. But it's been really nice to see more and more men come in. It's been primarily an industry for women.
Hmm.
And Probably when we started, we were probably about 70-30, right? 70% women, 30% men. And now I think we're probably closer to 60-40,
Oh wow.
a little bit more on the even side.
Mm.
And it's kind of fun to see that because men are like, wow, women have been keeping this from us for so long. Like, what is going on? And we are seeing more of the, well, I'm going to buy a gift card for my wife, but can I come? And it's like, sure, absolutely. So you see them kind of, tagging on to the massages and the facials and things like that. So it's really nice to see that.
Yeah.
How did your journey get started? Why this 8 years ago?
That's a big question, but but I actually was pretty much born into the industry. My mom used to work at Jacobson's back in the day, which
Oh, wow.
is a community staple
Yeah.
essentially. And she was pregnant with me. She worked in the beauty shop, and she just has been part of this journey in this world, forever. And I grew up with it and just constantly, her going from place to place. She worked a couple of different places at once just so that she could, do all the things she loved. Certain places didn't do certain services, so she would go to another place and she would still be working at all and always had just such a great connection with everybody. And when you're a service provider in this industry, you're almost like a therapist. You grow with these people, you go through their life with them, the ups, the downs, and things of that sort. So fast forward, I had just finished my master's and in business, and I was like, this would be something kind of fun to do, to look into. And I did a lot of my projects about the spa business, but I don't really enjoy the actual giving of the service part,
Right.
even though I'm all about acts of service, right? It just, I don't know. I didn't want to be in a room all day. I wanted to be doing things and changing things and helping people in different ways. And so somebody had kind of put it planted the seed, so to speak, and said, your mom has been doing this for a very long time and her reputation precedes her. So it's something that you should really consider. You should really think about, that you're older and you've got that business mind, you really should think about it. So we kind of put all of our heads together, and my husband, my brother, my mom, it's definitely a family oriented business, my cousin, we all sat down
Oh,
at a
wow.
table like this and I was like, I could do it, but I'm not going to do it alone. And, as a woman, there's only certain things you can do and get done. You do need that manpower behind you. And whether it's the construction, whether it's people taking you seriously, whatever it is, it's very true fact. And so everyone was on board, and so we just kind of were like, oh, we'll just start with like one room. Well, we went from 500 square feet to almost 8,000 square feet.
Wow.
Walked into the space. There was nothing there, no walls, no ceilings, no electrical. I mean, it was bare down to the bones. It had been vacant for like 6 years. And I was like, I love it. They all looked at me like, oh boy. I was like, I love the way it feels. Like it could be something pretty amazing. And they're
Yeah.
like, what is wrong with her? So we just kind of got the architect, the lawyers, the designers, everyone that we could get together to make it work. And one thing just kind of led to another. And, people kept wanting to invest in us. And it was just such a reassuring thing. And we were like, no, we think we can do this. So we put everything on the line, everything we had. I mean, down to the houses, whatever we could, just make it a family business. Let's make it work.
Wow.
And put all of our blood, sweat, and tears, and we're like, let's just do it. So walking into it, we had quite a bit of a clientele because of my mom.
Yeah.
She'd been doing it for so long, and she is just passionate, doesn't even really resonate, of how deeply she loves what she does. And so at that point, we realized, not a lot of people can work with their family. I think it's definitely a thing, but she does what I can't do, and I do what she can't do. So
cool.
it kind of works that way. But it's still very much a family-run thing, and I think looking back and reflecting on it, right? I was just talking about reflection, but I think that the thing that I'm most proud of is the people that I'm surrounded by. I think it's really important to find those people in your life, whether it is at work or at home or in your community. I think it's so important.
Well, the one, I'm super grateful that you opened this business because it's beautiful.
It is, yeah.
And you talk about like being surrounded by all the right people, but somebody kind of has to keep everybody together. And you obviously do an amazing job at that because you have a great staff that stays,
Yeah.
And you can just feel it when you walk into the place that it's run, like a well-oiled machine, and but not in a, not in like a sterile way, but in
Yeah.
like a really like fun and inviting and caring kind of place. And people gravitate towards it. And, I can't imagine anyone going there and not wanting to come back. And, that starts with somebody, you know, my, and I know the hours that you're open. I know the hours you work, and it's probably very similar to us as well. And, um, that, nights, weekends, everything. And, you right after you opened, and you're in growth mode at that point, and you go and get knocked up. or decide to have your beautiful
Another
daughter.
child. So Rivage is a child, and
Yeah,
now
yeah.
it's
Like, how did you possibly? Because that's something that I know we always talk about, that we struggle with, is the hours it takes to run a business or to grow a business, and how hard that is to just, you want to be there for all the milestones. You want to be there as much as you possibly can for your kids, but you also know that to provide for them,
you gotta work.
we got to work. Um, and when when you have a business like yours, you already are working on the clock long hours, but in order to really be successful at it, you're working at home, you're working in your sleep, you're thinking about it all the time. How hard was that? And what did you and your husband, what did Conrad and you do to make sure that, you didn't break, that you stayed sane, that, because you seem to be able to do it all pretty well. Like,
I appreciate that. Takes an effort on both ends, right? Entrepreneurship is not for the faint of hearts. Don't have to tell you guys that. It's such a dreamy world for a lot of people. It's like, I would love to be, and it's like, okay, you do it for
Yeah.
5 minutes and you tell me.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you work for yourself, by yourself, or if you have a team, or if you have a large team, like whatever it may be.
Yep.
It is not for the faint of hearts. And honestly, I feel like sometimes it can be a very lonely world. Where no one really understands it unless you're actually doing it in your business at that moment.
Yep.
it all seems glamorous.
It does,
Yeah.
and it is hard. I mean, I work 8 days a week, literally,
Yeah.
and I am working day and night and day, but I have gotten better at setting boundaries. We were talking about that earlier, and really just trying to focus on what I need to focus. And then when we had our daughter, it was very difficult at the beginning, especially. My husband was working another job. I was at the spa, of course, and when I was with her, I just wanted to be at work. And when I was at work, I just wanted to be with her.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really hard for me to find that happy medium to do that. But I think eventually I kind of got a rhythm going, and it just sort of worked itself out in that way. And then I realized there is a little bit of a positive side of entrepreneurship, in that, if I need to take her to a doctor's appointment, the only person I need to ask is me.
Yeah.
It's like, well, let me pull out all 10 of my calendars and let me see, oh, yep, I can take her, or you know what I mean? And so it's like, I don't have to ask permission from anybody. But as a side note, that was also very hard for me, right? Because it's just always guilt. I feel guilty all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't like to do things for myself. I don't like to do things for, certain situations. Like, I'm always like, okay, what can I do for others first, make sure everybody else is taken care of, and then, we can take a look at that. But that is the nice thing about it, is like, if I need to go and do something right now, I can just go and do it, basically.
Yeah.
With the exception of, my business always does come first, in the sense of, is anybody out sick? Are we short staffed? Are we taking care of? Is there a conflict? All the so on, so negative things. Have they been taken care of to the best of our ability? Then we go from there. But it's a very hard balance.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
I'm watching, um, Logan was saying, I'm in a youth program and we have hundreds of kids. And just recently, you've seen this evolution over the last 5 or 10 years, this glorification of entrepreneurship. And a lot of it is, monetary glorification. This is the easy path. Whether it's you can be a drop shipper, you can be an influencer, whatever, fill in the blank, that
Yeah.
it's like this easy, quick, make a ton of money.
Yep.
And so many kids allured by that
Yeah.
without fully appreciating or understanding, like, ooh, you got to have the
Sure.
risk tolerance. It's all in. It's probably going to fail. Like, let's just run the numbers and then look at it. And that story is not told often.
No.
It takes a very unique individual to
It
want to
does.
pursue through
And
that.
like you look at, payroll, for example. I'm the one person that's actually
Responsible.
least paid.
Yeah. And that's usually the case.
And I got to
Yeah.
make sure everybody's taken care of, because that
Yeah.
is a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
and I want to make sure of that. That's the first part of it. But I think the second part about it is that generational thing too. It's like everybody wants to get paid, but nobody wants to work.
Mhm.
It's like not
Yeah,
if you're going
that's
to be an
not how it
entrepreneur,
works.
that's for sure. You got to work
Yeah.
10 times more and 10 times harder to get those goals, to set those goals. Is it possible? Absolutely. But that work ethic has to be there. And it's just a little frightening
Yeah.
with
Well,
the upcoming generations.
Yeah.
The age old, like, nothing that's worth anything comes without work, right? Like,
Yeah.
whether it's your marriage, whether it's your business,
Doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter. Like, you got to put in the work.
Yep.
And yeah, I think more people should be having that conversation about the realities of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
It's-
Well, and it's a family business, whether you want it to be or not. Whether the family is working at the business or
Yeah.
not, they are affected by it all.
Mhm.
And so are you by that.
Mhm.
And that's the part that I think more people need. Like, somebody told me recently, a mentor coach of mine told me, like, kind of slapped me in the face, like, figuratively, and said, you and your wife need to go to, like, a kind of a couples retreat, not like going to the beach kind of thing,
Mhm.
but a couples goal setting, you know, team building kind of thing, because she does work with me a little bit, but she needs to know the ins and outs. It's almost like she needs to see the books,
Mhm.
you know, literally and figuratively. She needs to know why I'm not home
Yeah.
at dinner time.
Mhm.
Like, and not just, oh, I'm working to pay the bills. Like, she
Sure.
needs to know the exact goals, where we're at all times, if it's going to work. Because
Right.
if not, if that transparency isn't there, she's going to feel neglected, or she's not going to understand why I'm not home with the kids
Yeah.
or with her, or whatever it might be. And so, yeah, she doesn't actually know yet, but we're
Yeah,
we're
you're going
Now she
on a couple
knows.
street.
Yeah.
we're going to this, like, couples goal setting thing
That's awesome.
with some other, people in similar positions. And I'm looking forward to that, because the divorce rate
Mhm.
of entrepreneurs is insane.
Entrepreneurs, restaurateurs,
Yeah.
like, it's crazy. I mean, you are married to your business.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
like I said, it was my first child,
Yeah.
and it's so true. And honestly, with my husband and I, we, it was very difficult in the beginning, right? Just getting started and
Yeah.
whatnot. And then, of course, you had COVID shutdown, and you're starting all over, right? And at that point, when we had started all over and started reopening everything and trying to figure out our protocols and things of that sort, it was a very interesting thing for us as a business, as a company, and as an industry. It's like, you're not allowed to touch people, but we have to touch people.
Mhm.
Like, how do you
Yeah.
navigate,
That's crazy.
through that? So it was a very interesting thing. But at that point, I was like, I could really use some help with payroll, with inventory, with things like that. It's just like, my managers are too busy managing. Like, it's too much for all of
Mhm.
us. And, my husband's really great at numbers and things of that sort. So I was like, why don't you try it for a couple days a week and see if you like it? And he was in the auto industry, and it was kind of perfect timing.
Mm.
And so he started working with us, and just one thing led to another, and now we've been working together the last couple of years. And again, working with family, like it's a little dicey
Yeah.
sometimes, but it actually worked out, and we make a great team. And I think having him there and a part of it, and doing it's like he can see all the things that I go through on a daily basis. So, for example, last Saturday, we had somebody who unfortunately had a car accident, couldn't come into work. We had to rearrange the schedule, and I have managers on and, things of that sort, but we have ways of how we handle things, but I had to go in, and I usually try to take Saturdays as my day with my family to get the things done, but I had to rearrange everything to make sure that I could take care of my family, and I could be at the spa, and I could rearrange things, and it was just insane. But I think that if he didn't work with me, he would start resenting me.
Mm-hmm.
But because he understood what had to be done, and like, this is our busy time. It's Valentine's Day weekend, because it's right in the middle of the week and whatever, between Valentine's and whatever. So it was just like, okay, I get it, and so he just kind of did what he needed to do. I do what I need to do, and we just make it work.
Yeah.
Does the role ever change now that he has like this intimate knowledge and a much more, I mean, not that he didn't have a vested interest before, but now in a different way, did the role ever does the role ever change now where you're like, yeah, let's go to this event, or let's, take Colette to the zoo or something, and he's like, no, we have to get back to work, or like, is he ever the one that's pulling you back?
It has happened, but I think even more so now, like, Colette was sick like a couple weeks ago or whatever, and it was actually more important for him to be at work than for me. So I could just stay at home and work from home and get some things done, but he actually had to be there. So we just, made it work. And I try to keep it fair. We try to keep it fair. Like, if I stayed with her this day, then it's your turn. Like, we try to take turns.
Yep.
We try to do it bedtime, but bedtime is a whole nother thing.
Do you schedule it out? Like, do you have certain days that are like your day or his day? Or
No, we just take, like, whenever something happens.
Yeah.
If it involves our daughter, then it's just one of those things where we really try to tag team it if we can, or split the day. Or I'm like, hey, I did it last time. Or if it's an important day for me, then he'll, you know what I mean. So we just try to be very fair about it, and just really just be a team about it, because there's no other way around it.
Yeah, and probably helps a ton that he has visibility and appreciation for, like you were saying, what a day in the life looks like.
Yeah, because before he would think like I just got massages
Like,
all
what are you
day.
doing? You're just hanging out at the spa. You're at the spa again?
Yeah, I'm like, no.
Come
here's
on,
the
I know
thing.
there's a bachelorette party, or
Yeah,
you
he's like, you're just drinking champagne. Yeah. And I'm like, right. So here's the thing. It is not the case. Like, we it's really funny, because we do these workshops every so often for our staff, specifically, and more specifically for like our front desk and our spa attendants back at the house and things like that, just about customer service and things like that. And we call ourselves ducks. So on the surface, we're gliding, right? Everything's cool, everything's smooth, but underneath, you're just like, oh my gosh, where do I have to be? What am I doing next? Where am I going? And that's just what it's like to work in our industry constantly, and you're like, people are asking for ridiculous things, and you're like, I would love to help you. Oh my gosh, absolutely. Let me get that done for you. And you're like, oh, I hate this person. They're just so mean, but it's just part of the game.
Yeah.
I think the Bear, you guys were, you brought that up earlier, that TV show. I love that show. And to me, there's a huge aspect of customer service that they really hit on. Was it at Alinea in Chicago? Is that where he was
didn't
working?
Say it was, but
Yeah,
it
but
was.
But it was
implied.
basically that, like, just like did you see the one, obviously you saw it, the one where, it was, they came there for dinner, but she never got a chance to try Chicago
style pizza.
Chicago
yeah.
style
That's
pizza.
That's the Forks episode.
Is that
Yeah, it's my
what
favorite
okay.
episode. But
So
you have to like watch it all. Like, people are like, oh, should I just watch that? No. You gotta watch the whole thing, because it builds into that moment.
I know anybody that started, because when I started it, I stopped. I didn't watch past the first episode.
It's intense.
I liked it, but I wasn't that into it.
Yeah.
But you have to keep going, because it just keeps getting deeper and better, and in so many ways. And the characters evolve and grow, and
especially season 1, the Christmas dinner.
Oh yeah, well that told you so much about the people and the character. Yeah, that was cool. But like that, listening to what the client or the customer, uh, what they really want, or even just looking for ways to wow them.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I overheard
Yeah.
Mhm.
it's their birthday,
Mhm.
or I overheard that they didn't get a chance to have the Chicago pizza. So let's surprise them. Let's
Yeah.
do something
Yeah. Let's
for
one
them.
up it.
Yeah, like
Absolutely.
that. I wish more people did that. I wish more businesses did that. And it it's those things that make such an impact. Like my Bianca and I went to some place for dinner
Mhm.
in Birmingham uh, a few months ago, and people asked me like, what did you think of that place?" I couldn't even remember the food. I was like, I think it was pretty good,
Yeah.
but the service was unbelievable. This Our waiter made our entire night amazing
Love that.
because of things like that. Like
Yeah.
he just was like, it's not on the menu. Let's just figure it out.
Yeah.
Or, you know what? Like you don't drink. Like I'm gonna make sure you have something special. And if you don't like it, we'll try another. Like
Mhm.
don't worry about it. Like all these things. And it it just impacted our whole experience. And we're like, yeah, we'll go back in a second and maybe now think about the food this time. Like it's
Right.
like
Yeah.
we weren't even really thinking about the food. It was the experience.
But isn't
And
it like, I mean, so a side business, but like the principle is a principle in humanity, right? Your perception is your reality. I think everyone's busy, everyone's trying to get through their day, do the things that they need to do for work or need to do for life or whatever. But like pausing and taking a minute to understand whether you're having coffee with someone or it's a client or it's
Mhm.
whatever, like what's going on in their world.
Mhm.
How do I like put myself in their position, what's happening in family and life and having that empathy exercise so that you can then
Exactly.
cater to like what's actually happening uniquely.
Mhm.
Like those moments in business with teams, when
Mhm.
you have
Yeah.
bigger companies and the person running the front desk doesn't truly understand, the
Mhm.
person that's giving massages all day, like what goes on in their life
Mhm.
every single day.
Mhm.
So those shared experiences, then you completely change your perception of like, oh, now I'm not going to ride them so hard if they're 5 minutes late from a
Sure.
massage or whatever. Because
Sure.
like I get it's not easy. There's so much value created there if you like pause and take a minute to understand what's actually going on in your audience's mind.
It's so true. I read this book just before we opened called People Over Profit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a
It's a good
very
one.
interesting read. And did you read it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a really interesting read. And it's nice to kind of hear the different stories and whatnot. And the way we kind of, what we took from it essentially, or the way I have used it most recently is, when clients complain about something, right? It's like, okay, there's certain things that people complain about. Um, Essentially, people's expectations are very high, right? Especially for a place like ours that has prices that are very expensive and services that are very, and we pride
won a
ourselves.
million
Yeah.
awards, and yes.
And then we pride ourselves on our obviously our reputation, but our education and things of that sort. So it makes it a lot harder to have that expectation be met all the time. That's pressure on us, right?
Right.
So with it comes complaints. And so we're always taking into account when somebody's complaining, like we really assess it hardcore. Why are they complaining? What is it that they're complaining about that we could actually change, and what isn't? You know what I mean? So when we break it down at the end of the day, it's like, what is this person going through? Why are they taking it out on us?
Right.
Because that's really what it's about
Hmm.
at the
Always.
end of the
Yeah.
day. And how can we empathize with them? And how can we level with them and find a reasonable solution so that, we're not being taken advantage of, right? And at the same time, they are satisfied,
Yeah.
and they feel taken care of.
Yeah.
So there's a very fine line with that. And I think, reading that book and talking about, again, how important people are in these situations, and again, it's not just about the clients, but it's also about your employees.
Yeah.
So um it's again finding that fine line of being able to be, fair,
Yeah.
essentially.
I mean, there's no better way to establish brand equity and trust than owning when it is, whether you're responsible or feel you're responsible or not, but just owning the mistake,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And talking through it and addressing it, not
Yeah.
hiding from it.
Yeah.
Or I remember we did we are privately funded, so we have to fundraise throughout the year. In our year-end campaign, we sent we personalize our emails to the donors, and we sent an email list to the wrong group of donors. Then we sent another one. It was like, I noticed we did it. A few hours later, we sent an email to that list of donors like, hey, sometimes it doesn't always work out exactly right. And, it was just a funny little email, an opportunity to have a human touch point.
Sure.
And that email generated more revenue and donations than any other email in the whole campaign. And it wasn't even a fundraising email. It was just like acknowledging that we made a mistake.
Indirectly it was.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like, well, maybe if you had
And
a little
that was-
more help. You...
Right.
And it was never the intent to generate
Sure.
dollars, but, that's like, oh, okay, I get
that's
it.
just being human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that whether it's showing vulnerability or just showing that you care,
Mhm.
people just, that's what they really want. Like
Yeah.
you said, like if someone's complaining, maybe it's something going on with them. Maybe they're upset. Maybe they want someone to talk to, and they just happen to be taking it out on you for whatever reason. And if you can somehow figure that out, because a lot of people could just snap back
Mhm.
at them and then no good comes from it. But if you take a second, I don't know how you get to it,
Yeah,
but
you get to it.
you get to it,
Yeah.
and then they end up crying on your shoulder or whatever, and then they become maybe more than just clients, but they're clients
They
for
become
life.
lovers.
Yeah. And one thing leads to another.
Oy.
See, what I pictured what happens in these massage rooms, like I've seen a lot of TV late at night, but
But it's true at home too. Like, how many times? I'm sure there are some incidences where you are responsible, but how many of those fights it has nothing to do with you,
I'm never wrong.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just want to be clear.
Something
Yeah,
else
yeah.
is going on.
hear that,
And-
Conrad?
Yeah.
Jess is never wrong.
But I think we all like default to, I'm going to put up the defenses quickly. And it's like, but it was never about me in the first place. So
Yeah.
let me,
Yeah.
you need to be heard. Yeah.
And I mean, I can't tell you how many times that both Conrad and I both have been punching bags
Right.
to each other, for each other body. I mean, whatever. Like, it's just one of those things. It's like you need an outlet, right? And you
Mhm.
need to be able to take it out on something.
Yeah.
And who better than your spouse?
Yeah.
I
Well,
always
they
feel
just
like
happen
that's
to
a-
always be there.
He's just there.
Yeah.
So
It's a good sign. If you're still fighting and
Yeah.
you feel like that's the person you can trust the most
Yeah.
and they'll take it, like
Yeah.
that's a good sign. When the fighting stops, it's like, something else might be going on.
Yeah. We've
Mhm.
been
Yeah.
together for a really long time. So, and it's one of those things where it's like you either grow together or you grow apart. And I think we've definitely been through so much together that we've been lucky that we have been growing together versus apart.
That's
But-
cool.
But it's not easy.
Yeah. Well, you guys
Work.
also like
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
from an outsider looking in. I mean, I think most of us, can say or have to say that like, our spouse is our best friend, but I feel like you guys were best friends.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
for a long time.
For sure.
Like still are. Yeah.
I mean, I love him with every single part of me. I don't always
Mhm.
like him.
yeah, yeah.
And it's mutual, right? I don't really like you right now. I'm like, I don't like
Mhm.
me either, But yeah, we definitely see eye to eye on the big important things, and I think we challenge each other on the little things. But I think that's what makes it what it is.
Yeah.
It's just adding those extra layers.
Mhm.
So
I mean, you talked about the love languages. There's also like the types of love, right?
Right.
Erotic, ethos,
Yeah.
agape.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
as you grow into your
Is
marriage,
agape is that
That's God
like
love.
tequila? Oh.
but like as you, those maturing in love and like, because that, the honeymoon phase fades. Well, maybe not for everyone, but for most people at some point. So if you don't have those other types of love to back it up, man, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
yeah, it's not
I have a
gonna
couple of
last.
girls that are getting married on staff, and they're planning the wedding and the honeymoon.
Together?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Isn't that
They
interesting?
Oh.
found love at this.
No. Sorry.
Oh.
But like, no, like
They're doing it. They're
He's got-
at the
planning
same
He's got a
time.
story in his head.
Yeah.
so it is-
Whoa.
One thing left.
No. Wrong story here. Just a couple, but anyhow, and it's funny because they share certain things and aspects of it. I'm like, oh, you guys like each other still. That's so cute.
Yeah.
It's like,
Mhm.
oh, wait till you're after that honeymoon
All
phase.
right.
That's the true
Yeah.
testament.
I do think, obviously, I think you have to, just like your business, you have to work at your relationship, and it's only going to be successful like a business if you work at it. And it doesn't have to be like strenuous, but you got to, put in
Those-
the effort
The date
to,
nights are so important.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be date nights, right? Like just a lunch together alone
Mhm.
without children, without people, just, it's just so like we've been doing like breakfasts together. Like,
Really?
we love Commonwealth. Yay.
Yes.
Thank you,
Bowl.
Commonwealth, we love
Jim,
you.
appreciate that
Yeah.
sponsorship.
Totally spilled my $10 coffee on me the other day. I was really sad.
You should probably let people know that the sea latte has condensed milk in it, though, because I gained 12 pounds from it.
But with like that's our thing, we just love to go and, have a breakfast together, kind of talk about goals and things of that sort. Sometimes we don't get anywhere. It's just like I'm hungry, I'm tired,
Yeah.
But it's still just nice to be one-on-one, and I think that's super important. Before we got married, before we had children, before the business, all of that, we used to travel a lot together, a lot. And Conrad's originally from Sweden, so we'd always go to Europe and then go visit family in Sweden. Like we did all of that, and so we were very lucky to have been able to do all of that. But we miss it.
Yep.
And you can't do it to that capacity anymore, but you can have versions of it for sure.
I saw something the other day of just like, even if literally you're both sitting on your couch, scrolling your phone, doing emails, whatever, like just
Is that quality time?
physical touch while you're
Yeah.
doing it, like
Yeah.
like arm on each other,
Yeah.
back to back or whatever, just the like increased serotonin of just that.
What about sharing like a bag of chips?
Yeah,
Does that help too? Okay,
I
I'm
mean,
just
like
checking.
literally touching, like versus sitting on opposite ends of the couch and doing it.
Uh-huh.
Because sometimes it's like I don't have a babysitter, like we can't get out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, finding the time, making the time, I think is it needs to be a priority.
Does every day feel like Groundhog Day to you guys?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were to ask Conrad, he'd say absolutely yes.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it does. And I think, again, it's important to set that time aside.
Mhm.
And then it's funny because, like, when things do get crazy and the calendar gets filled with activities for kids and then birthdays and then work stuff and, all that, then you're like, oh my God, I just want it to be boring. I just miss it to be like
Yeah.
Groundhog's Day, But I think that it's just nice to have that balance.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's Groundhogs?
Often?
Yeah.
Well, I think, I mean, during the week, very often. Yeah, it is. But you have to, that you have to work at it. You have to throw some stuff in there. Today, actually, I wasn't planning on going to this work conference next week, and said, you know what, let me just look, see what the prices of everything is, and maybe I can go last minute. But then I thought, well, it's a lot of spring break, midwinter break, all these schools, like it's probably going to be it's Florida,
Oh, gosh.
and but I was like, let me just check points for the flight, which was like super low amount of points. I'm like, okay, that's step one. I kind of figured that was going to be easy. Let's check out the hotels now. And this hotel, basically right next to the conference center, it said $0. And I screenshotted it and sent it to Bianca. And I'm like,
Hey, free trip.
I might go now because it's telling me $0. I'm not really understanding this. And I'm like, do you want to go if that's real? She's like, it's not real. So what's the point? And I think it was because I had some sort of like Expedia.com, Expedia points or something that it just automatically gave me this discount down to 0. And so I was like, well, I think I'm going to go now because it's not costing me really any money to go. And I'm like, Bianca, if you can come, you'll just be by yourself by the pool all
Yeah.
day.
She's like, yep, let's
Sign
book
me
it.
up.
Yeah. And she's like, yeah, perfect. And I'm like, if the weather's bad, I don't know what to tell you. She's like, oh no, in my bed, mask,
Yeah.
go down to the spa, whatever. Like, I'm good. And
Actually have a hot coffee.
yeah, or be able to, like, I can't because I have the conference, but she might sleep in. maybe. It's hard because
It's funny because when you can sleep in, like, let's be
can't.
real,
it
you
doesn't
just, it
end up
doesn't work.
happening.
Yeah.
Your body's already set to it and all that. But like something like she then was texting me like, "Oh my God, I'm so," and this is literally for just over 48 hours.
Mhm.
Like it's not like some trip that's going to be amazing or
That's
anything.
all you need.
It's
A little recharge.
Orlando without Disney. And
Ah,
so
that's
it's not even
amazing.
Orlando. It's well, it is basically. It's Celebration, Florida.
Oh yeah.
So, uh, but yeah, just like something like that,
Mhm.
which I don't remember the last time we've only gone for like 2 days somewhere, but that could be like enough. Like that's all you need to just recharge. Sometimes it is just, I mean, Friday night we went out to dinner and it was fun,
Right.
like a fun dinner. And
And you looked forward to it. You
yeah,
always
and it
need
was,
something to look forward to, I feel like.
well, I don't know. I'm a like antisocial social person. So like I love people
Oh, okay. But you're always around people too.
but I hate going to anything. Like because
It's interesting.
yeah, like I don't like events. I don't like
Yeah.
small talk.
Yeah.
Um I like this. I like talking to people, like real stuff. And I like going out like Peter and I go on like a double date night with our girlfriends that happen to be our wives.
I was wondering where you're going with
I was
that.
like, yes, and tell me more.
No, like that I enjoy, but this was like multiple couples, and I'm like, oh God, what if I? But we actually had a blast and closed down Manj and Lao.
Oh
By the way.
boy.
Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't a
Wow.
Wednesday night, but
But still.
but still we closed it
And
down.
I bet you had a great meal.
It was unbelievable.
We've done a lot
Uh,
of staff parties there. They're great.
oh yeah, it's just there's a lot of places around here, not a lot. There's a handful of places around here that they're just what you're gonna get, and it's gonna be solid. The atmosphere is gonna be good. There's a
It's worth
few
it.
right here in Royal Oak. There's a couple in
Mhm.
Birmingham, one on Stevenson and Troy. Yeah. But like, there's just some places. But we had fun, and I had worked until like the second I had to run home to pick up Bianca, and the last thing I wanted to do was go out, um, but then by the end of the night, we were like, like we needed that. We
Mhm.
needed like a night of like laughter and
Adults.
yeah, yeah, it was good.
Non-routine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It
I
was
miss
good.
the spontaneous stuff. Like, oh, let's just go out and do a thing.
It's impossible.
Or you have like a couple of choices, and then you
Yeah.
can just be like, well, I don't know. Maybe we do that. Maybe we do all of it.
Mhm.
You know?
How's
Yeah.
childcare?
We're really, really fortunate with childcare. I mean, we have both grandmas that help out
Mhm.
quite a bit. So that's really nice. And then we have kind of our whole little set of, people that help out from
Does any of your
babysitters.
staff babysit?
Um,
Or you try to keep that separate?
I try to keep it separate.
Yeah.
There have been instances, when she was a little bit younger, but I try to keep it as separate as possible. But now that she's in school, there's a lot more opportunities with, teachers and aides and things like that want, extra hours and things
Mhm.
like
Oh,
that.
that's nice.
So it's kind of nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I miss not that I like did like a lot of crazy spontaneous things, but like just the Saturday or Sunday afternoon, like, all right, I got done with work at 2 or 3, and we were planning on staying in, but now I'm like kind of in the mood to go out and have dinner. But we can't now. Or
Yeah.
like now it's too
It's
late
not as
to
easy,
do that. Yeah.
right?
Not
It's
as easy.
more of a hurdle. Like
Yeah.
the kids, first of all, are they sick? Like
Mhm.
that's the first thing. And then,
Always. They're
right?
always sick.
Yeah.
always some sort of a germ. And then, you got to find the babysitters. And then it's like, but then also it's like, I don't really want to stay up that late because they get up early in the morning. And it's like,
Uh-huh.
oh my gosh. Like we have to be at school at 8 o'clock during the week.
hmm
And it's like, finally, like Saturday morning, like, let's sleep in. And she wakes up at like 6. And I'm like, why? You don't even wake up this early during the
Mhm.
week,
Ready to party.
Yeah. She's like, tomorrow I'm sleeping in. I'm like, really? Are you? And then she wakes up at 6. And I'm
Yeah.
like, So there's that part of it too, where it's like, even if you don't drink, you still have that like hangover of I'm exhausted,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
you
You don't
know?
get sleep.
I didn't sleep or I had too much sugar or whatever it is,
or I stayed up watching something.
Yeah.
And this happened the other night. I getting back into one of my old shows, the West Wing, and
That's
I
a oldie.
Yeah,
I
you're taking
love
it way
it.
back.
I've watched the whole thing so many times. It's just one of those ones I can always watch. And anything Aaron Sorkin, I'm just a big fan of. But he I'm watching the show, and I don't know why I thought it was a good idea to like keep going until like 1. And whenever I do that, whenever I like stay up late thinking, well, it's okay, I'll still get, 5 hours. Um, that's when one of the kids gets up at like 2 a.m.
Yeah,
Yeah.
always.
And
Always.
I'm like, oh, you just now I got nothing, and I didn't get any sleep, and it's been like a struggle for like
And then you're
5 days
cranky.
straight now, and
Yeah.
it's a problem. But so Jessica, you're here. We've got you. I told you there'd be some hard-hitting questions.
Sure.
Wow.
What's next? What's exciting on the horizon? What are you struggling with? What are you looking for? What are you doing? What's 2024 looking like?
There's so many parts to it that intertwine. Like
Mhm.
we were talking pretty much this entire time about that between work and family life and things of that sort. But definitely, looking forward to organizing and reorganizing the business to um, to just kind of we're at full capacity, but it's like making sure that everyone's okay. You know what I mean? Just making sure everyone's there, everyone's on board. Let's do it. We've been for a long time kind of trying to figure out a second space, and it hasn't really worked to our needs, so to speak. So, when it's kind of up and running and it's doing its thing, you don't want to mess with it, and
Mhm.
it's like you kind of got to find something that's perfect.
Yeah.
You don't compromise at this point. So, just really focusing on something like that. We always have some sort of something in the works of what we
Mhm.
want to do. But it's pretty exciting. We're growing our business within, so that's always really nice too, adding more services and treatments and things like that. So it's super fun. Just trying to make it through camp life this summer. That's
Camp life. Is this the
that's
first year?
no, it's like the third year, but
Oh, wow.
I
Like
know.
day camp or
Yeah,
sleepaway?
yeah. No, she's still too young
Okay.
for that.
Okay.
But that's like a whole thing. I don't know if you guys have heard this from, the wife's side, but it's like a very challenging and very competitive thing about getting your kids into camps. In the summertime.
We're doing camp this year,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it's like a
Like
scary.
it can
I'm
be
not looking at it
it
as
can be
scary.
continuous. It can be continuous on, what you're doing currently. Like a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
programs offer that, but as they get older, it gets a little bit more competitive and things
Mhm.
of that sort. So just making sure that goes nice and smooth.
Mhm.
Have a couple trips in the works, so pretty
Nice.
excited about it.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we're the camp thing. I don't know, Bianca. I think she's making it sound like this is going to be so good for them. I think she just likes having a little bit of a few hours alone.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm going to send them both to the same camp, one drop
Nice.
off,
Mhm.
one pickup. Um, and yeah, she's looking forward to that. But my day camps when I was young, I loved like some of my favorite.
Memories are from that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like I never did the sleepaway camp like a lot of
yeah.
my friends, but um, I didn't mind that. Like I wouldn't have been. I don't think I would have
Oh,
been the
sleepaway
same
camp was
golfer.
amazing.
You got to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it always sounded good. The only thing I could like really judge it against were movies that I saw of,
yeah.
like, was it Tamaqua or Tamarack that were in like what's it called? Something Summer. Some movie that like
Mm.
was based on Tamaqua, Indian Summer, I think.
Oh,
Hmm.
really?
Yeah.
Wait.
Cool.
Is that right?
One of the T's. They were Tamaqua, Tamarack, Tanuga. I don't
Oh,
which
yeah.
one did you do?
We did one that was like, I think it started as early as third or fifth grade, all the way through high school. And then when you're in high school, you could be like a counselor.
Mm-hmm.
So I typically went for like a week. It was Spring Hills in Everett, Michigan,
Which is where?
in the middle
Up
of
I feel like my
north
nowhere.
husband
or
did that one too.
Did he?
Yeah,
It was awesome.
yeah. I think that was the one he
And
did.
then you like Yeah,
It's
I
on
think
a
like
lake, I assume.
there's lakes every. It's a huge piece of property. It's in the
Is there
middle of
horseback
nowhere.
riding
Yeah.
too, or
Horseback, literally, you name it, they have it.
really?
There's
Yeah.
like lakes with
Exactly
the
what you think of.
blob, and all the lodgings are different. So like one year you stayed in the train, one year you stayed in the tree forts, one year you stayed in like
Really?
the wagons. They had like wagon like Wild West wagons you could stay in. Then
Is it
there was
still
like
there?
yeah,
Yeah,
still
it's
there.
still a thing. I do know that. I'm pretty sure he went to that one when
Yeah.
he was younger.
It's
That's really
big. I mean,
funny.
there's like thousands of kids there,
It's
and
so
they do like
crazy.
every week. Then parents come up on the like
Mhm.
graduation day, and then you typically are doing like a show for like the
Uh-huh.
parents and stuff, and
That's cool.
it
Is
was
that like
fun.
a 3-week thing?
I think you can do like a week at a time, so you could do multiple weeks, and then
Sign
when
up for
you're
it that way.
yeah,
Yeah, that's how
and
it
then
is
you get
now.
like a reduced when you're like a counselor, you get a reduced rate, I think, because you're like helping, but you're there for 2 weeks. So I did that like junior and senior. It was great.
Was your first kiss there?
First girlfriend,
Was a camp girlfriend?
Libby Shaftsma.
Where is
Libby,
she?
are
Is
you
she
listening?
around?
It was like probably third or fourth grade, and I think she
Aw.
lived in like Grand Rapids, and we would like pen pal, and
Oh, that's
Really?
so
yeah,
funny.
it was so fun. I pierced my ear in like fifth or sixth grade with a safety pin
Oh
at
my-
camp one year. I mean, every year there was like some story,
Uh-huh.
but it was
That's
fun.
awesome.
Lots of experiences.
Did you do camp?
I did, and I hated every minute of it.
Really?
Yeah, it's really funny. Like the things that I did not like growing up, my daughter's like the same,
Mm-hmm.
but she's definitely become more accustomed to the whole camp thing. Like she's other than the fact that one year I signed her up for the wrong camp, so that was lovely.
Oh,
Her and
Mom,
Conrad
they
showed
don't
up.
have me registered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
her and Conrad showed up, and he's like, "You know, you didn't register at the right camp." I'm like, "No, I did. I see every." Oh no, I didn't. I was like
No
looking at my
way.
laptop, and I was like, "Oh yeah, no, I did not sign her up." She still doesn't let me live that one down. So
sure.
Really?
yeah,
Yeah.
We got to talk about the camp because how they're both going to camp. We got to get.
I don't know
Parker
how
on
it
this.
all works.
that's amazing.
And I don't know if it's every day or all that stuff.
It's a
You know who to
thing.
talk to.
I just found out we live in Pleasant Ridge,
Yeah.
and there's a day camp. I think she's
at the
at the center, and they do like all day programming. It's like $100. It's super cheap if you're a resident,
Sign
and
up.
they do like everything.
Yeah.
So
they
I think
just
when
redid
she's-
everything to I mean
Yeah.
it's the perfect place for that.
I think she has to be maybe like in kindergarten. Maybe is like the earliest they
Yeah.
start you.
You
But
probably need to be
yeah.
potty trained.
Probably, yeah.
And
Yeah, and
then-
you've got to be like a kid that doesn't have a hard time with like goodbyes, basically. Like you've got to be like,
Oh.
okay, bye. You know,
Yeah,
and they're
like,
like,
it wouldn't
no,
happen
don't
right
leave
now.
me.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
that's the whole thing.
I do little Frankie's drop off, and I've got it down to a science, I think.
Yeah,
in
for
where
now.
yeah. Well, and she's in love with her main teacher,
Yeah.
like to the point of she's holding my hand. We're walking down the hall, and then as soon as she sees her, she literally lets go and just starts running and jumps into her arms. And I went to drop her off the other day, and I was like, okay, we'll give Dada a kiss, and she gave me a kiss, and then she looks at her teacher and goes in for a lip kiss after she just lip kissed me, and her teacher goes,
Yeah.
like, it's like she thought about it as she was going in. Like, one, I'm then kind of kissing Dad because he just kissed her lips, and now I'm kissing his lips, and this feels inappropriate, maybe.
Yeah.
Like she went in for the cheek, but it was she loves her. But we went, and sorry for any other parents that are listening, but we went to it was her birthday on Valentine's Day.
Mhm.
And I guess parents come like bring stuff around pickup, and like pizza or cupcakes or whatever. So we brought cupcakes. I don't think Bianca thought through what that would mean. In a lot of ways, they had she put a ton of icing on top. So the kids are covered head to toe in icing. They're probably on crazy sugar highs now when their parents pick them up. But we went in there, and the whole time I'm just thinking, this is why my kid's sick all the time, because all these kids were just dripping boogers, sneezing, coughing nonstop. I'm just like licking. Well, and we brought,
Mhm.
cupcakes that they're now licking and touching everything, and I just was like, all right, maybe
It's hard
homeschool.
because, like, right? It's hard because, like, at the same time, you don't want to be like, don't touch that. You know,
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
want them to have that complex,
Yep.
right? And it's like germs are good. Just don't give them to me, you
Yeah.
know? But yeah, I mean, it's funny because like we started preschool right when, masks had to be up, and that was a whole thing, and that's a
Mhm.
I
whole
can't
nother
imagine.
conversation.
Yeah.
But then, the next preschool was after that or whatever, or pre-K was after that, and she didn't have to wear a mask, and we got every sickness that you could imagine. Like we were out, I think, 1 week out of every month of the school year, and it was
Mhm.
like random viruses. It wasn't
Yep.
anything
Yeah.
like the flu or strep or
Yeah, because you're
COVID.
so protected for so
Yeah.
long, and then it's like, here you go, world.
Yeah. And then thankfully it started to subside a little bit, but I'm just like, wash your hands.
Mhm.
I'm like, go outside, wash your hands. You want to eat? Wash your hands. I don't care about anything else. Just wash your hands. Just get that instilled in her because it's just nasty,
Can't wait to turn that corner. Like
It's so hard.
probably, I'm guessing it's like 5.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
around that.
Yeah.
When they stop like just licking random
Windows
things
and walls
yeah.
and
Everything.
things.
And,
Like, oh, this
and know how to
railing
wash
looks
their
tasty.
hands. Yeah.
Like, don't touch that.
I can't wait for that because it is just nonstop. It's just unless they're home.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like the quarantining was amazing, but that's probably causing a lot of this issue too. So
Yeah, it just heightened everything. I feel
Yeah.
like, especially in the last couple of years when
Mhm.
things are kind of coming back and,
Mm-hmm.
everyone's licking surfaces, it feels
Mhm.
like. It's been a lot.
yeah.
But they'll have amazing immune systems when they're older.
Here's hoping.
Uh-huh.
Here's hoping.
Well, Jessica, thank you for coming.
Thank you for
we
having
love
me.
you,
So fun.
and we could talk to you all night, but I know you have to get home, and we
Yeah.
have to get home,
Yes.
and that's the rub with this parenting and business thing is
Yeah.
the fun always has to end at some point. 'Cause-
The fun.
to be
The
continued.
fun.
To
Yeah.
be continued,
but
right?
anything you're doing, you always gotta get back to reality or get back to business or the kids or whatever.
I appreciate your guys' time. It was a pleasure.
It was fun.
It's been super
Thank
fun.
you.
Thank
And
you.
you're my like go-to. Anyone that needs a break, I'm like, here's a Rivage gift certificate.
Thank
So
you.
It's on
Seriously.
the regular.
Thank you. Appreciate
And
that.
we're excited for the sponsorship that's coming.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah. But thank you so much. We love you. Everybody check out Rivage Day Spa. It really is. It's beautiful if you haven't seen it, and the experience is even more beautiful. And Peter's going to give us his final thought now.
Trust the process.
Put you on the
Trust the
spot.
process. There you go.
All right, cool. Well, thank you. And Miguel, goodbye.
Sorry you have a little penis, Miguel.
We're not cutting that part.